All right, cool. So I'm also testing out some technology, I guess, as well. Because my recent live stream I did with Dale last week, I was really blurry. So I'm trying to figure out the source of that blurriness. So I again am here. And so I figured I'd talk about shame because, you know, it's a hot topic, ever pervasive. Um, if you're here and you want to say hi, you can say hi. If you are, hey, Bob, how are you? Glad you're here. Um, yeah, so let me know if, yeah, everything's working okay. So anyways, I wanted to talk about shame too because there was a post in a therapist group recently that kind of shocked me, I guess. The post itself wasn't that bad, but it was about the benefits of shame. And the research is really clear that shame is not helpful in managing behavior, even in behavior change. If it does change your behavior, it's rooted in fear and is not from an empowered place. It's not intrinsic. It is completely extrinsic. So I was just surprised that that was still being talked about in the therapist community. So it led me to want to talk a little bit more about it. And first, make sure people know that using shame as a motivator to like usually it's to keep yourself in line is not helpful. Um it yeah, it feeds fear and it disconnects us from ourselves. We don't learn empowerment from this place. And self compassion, overwhelmingly, in all of the studies that they've done, has better results for changes in your behavior and mood. So people often have a fear of, well, if I forgive myself, if I love myself, then I'm just going to keep fucking up. I'm going to keep making the same mistakes or screwing up over and over again when that's not true. Now, self love and self compassion are not the same as giving yourself a pass. Um, and honestly, it's the shame that results in the giving yourself a pass because you're not actually able to look at your behavior and look at what's going on when you're feeling shame because you're phobic to it, creating a distance, and you're not able to meet it. We are able to meet the icky stuff about ourselves when we actually face it. And that requires self compassion. So, um, so the research is really overwhelming about this, and I guess I want to make sure everybody knows that. It's not just like some feel good stuff. Um, so what happens is we don't actually overwhelmingly we don't trust ourselves to do the right things or be good people. We feel like we need to have all these rules and eyes on us in a way in order to follow through. Like this idea of, well, when I'm an adult, sort of thing. When I'm an adult, I can have ice cream every day. And yes, you can have ice cream every day. Um, but the reason to not have ice cream every day, and I'm not shaming anyone if you have ice cream in it, that's fine. Um, but I'm just using that as an example. But usually the reason to not do that is because your body struggles more. Oh, I am blurry. Sorry. Yeah, I'm getting rid of the StreamYard, but I'll continue. But we don't trust that we're going to make positive decisions for ourselves. And because we don't love ourselves enough to take care of ourselves on that level. And we feel like we're missing out on something otherwise. Um, so by acting from self compassion and self love, we develop self trust. And then we're no longer engaging in this deep betrayal of ourselves. So when we say, like, I don't trust that I'm going to, um, oh, what did you say, Bob? When someone says you're too much, I say, thank you. I feel that too. Yeah. Yeah. And when people do that, they're projecting their idea of how you should be. And so we get to choose if we take that on or not. Um, and even though you will likely have an emotional reaction and feel that upsetness, if that happens, that upsetness points to the part of you that holds the shame. That's the part of you that agrees with the too much or whatever it is. And that's the work. That's what needs self-compassion. That's what needs self-love. And literally, it's pointing you to where to give attention so that you no longer betray yourself and accept yourself for who you are. So when people say things like that to you, your initial emotional response is kind of like gold for you because if it doesn't hit an emotional response, it means you've completely accepted that part of you and are no longer holding shame in that place. So, and again, if it does bring something up in you, it just shows there's more work to do here. And you don't need to shame that, right? So if someone says something like you're too much and it does elicit an emotional response, we don't shame the fact of, oh my gosh, I can't believe I still have a part of me that is shaming myself for being the way that I am. That's obviously not productive because you're putting shame on top of the existing shame. So it's recognizing, okay, there's more stuff to accept here. And that's cool. That's okay. That's a part of the work. This is a lifelong journey. Anyone who says like, "Oh, I just did my self-work. I'm all good now." Um, that's not really a thing. Hey, Dave. I had a girl like that once. I have no regrets. I'm still standing, know who I am, have better people in my life now. Yeah, exactly. At the time, it can really feel like a massive loss. So that's the other thing is we often betray ourselves and who we are and don't love and accept ourselves because we're more concerned with keeping the other. Oh, hey Amanda, I just saw you. Um we're more concerned with keeping the other person in our lives than honoring ourselves because we feel like I need this person. And when we honor ourselves and if they walk away from that, it can feel like a very devastating loss. So I think it's important to let yourself grieve that, feel that, notice that, but at the same time recognizing that the betrayal of self is much more deeper because at the end of the day, it's you taking care of you. You're always going to be with you and have you. And that's way more important than anybody else. But when we're in our emotional states, we definitely don't usually have that perspective, which is fine. Um, so the other thing related that I took a few notes randomly before I came on, that we have this love is earned mentality. So, oh yeah, Amanda, yeah, some people do find that selfish, but again, that is them projecting, that is them using their own shame that they use to keep themselves in line. And therefore, they're like, well, because I shame myself into keeping myself um in line, then I need to shame you to try and keep yourself in line. Makes me very sad to be outgrowing codependent friendships, but I've been being called selfish. Oh, geez, yeah, for asking for more details for a trip we are going on to accommodate my allergies. Yeah, so, um, but how to have relationships when most people aren't this far along, especially keeping dear ones to us who can't understand. But yeah, um, so what I usually recommend is you can create distance with people without feeling like you need to actually cut them off. Like you love these people, you care about them, but they might not be serving your growth at this point in time. So I also like to be clear on that because we don't know what the future holds. Everybody kind of grows and changes at different rates and so forth. And I've learned that by not getting myself in a tizzy about things and like ending a friendship, sometimes those people come bebop back and forth. I'm closer with them for a few years and then not for a few years because we're on our own little journeys and paths. But when you need to so it's really about honoring when when distance needs to be built, and you can build that distance. Like give yourself permission to build that distance, but you can still connect with that person in the ways that does feel in alignment with you. Like how do you want to show that person that you care about them and love them? And you get to decide that. And then they can accept that or not. Um and yeah, most friendships, I think a lot of them are often built off this codependency in the beginning, and especially when we're younger. Um, and honestly, I feel like a lot of people don't talk about the difficulties of friendships. I end up talking about this a lot with my clients and in my work, and I don't really, it's usually romantic partnerships, but friendships are very important to us. And they're tough to navigate. I think especially well, I guess at all walks of life. So, yeah, so Amanda, so your friend that probably called you selfish today, around your allergy accommodations, I don't know, my guess would maybe she struggles with taking up space. So when somebody else actually takes up space, then it's like, oh, well, you can't take up space because I don't let myself take up space. So I shrink myself. So you should shrink yourself. So sometimes it's like helpful to kind of recognize, like, okay, this is their shit. And I'm not wrong for taking up space and for asking for what I need. Yeah. So, yeah, so it can be really grounding to kind of like see that picture a little clearly, and then you don't take it as personally, and then when you don't take it personally, then you're less likely to react, and then you can kind of like save a whole lot of lot of drama that way. Um oh geez. Um yeah, no problem. Yeah. So I would take some time with it. It sounds like she's kind of reacting emotionally. Um yeah. Yeah, so she might feel like it's personal that there's something wrong, but you recognizing me as a human, I'm allowed to take up space. I am allowed to ask for what I need. And if somebody else has a problem with that, um, then then it's like, well, how much? time do I really want to be spending with this person? Do I really want to be spending much time with this person? And it can be sad, and there's a lot of grieving there. Um, so the other thing with shame I wanted to touch on is yes, we often use it as a motivation to keep us ourselves in line. And we need to keep ourselves in line so that people love us, right? So the great example we're talking about here with the friendships. So if I keep myself in line, people love me. So it fosters this love is earned um, kind of belief that happens. And we also have this earning is suffering. I have to suffer in order to learn or to earn, right? So then we get into this love and suffering dynamic. Like, I need to sacrifice myself in order to be in this relational dynamic. And that's not healthy, it's not helpful. And that's also the problem of trying to get our needs met from external sources, from the outside. So that's why moving towards this intrinsic place of love and self compassion and self love, that becomes your foundation. And then the people you play with in life, like this, I guess, um, that just enhances what's happening. Um, so yeah, so what we do with the shame and then changing, like kind of putting ourselves down to be a certain way. And then if we do get a reward from that, like someone likes us because we did not share our need, that is like, um, it's conditioning that keeps us to keep doing it over and over again, right? It gives us that dopamine hit of, oh, I did a good thing. I shrunk myself and my needs, and I got the love. I got the itty bits of love. And then it keeps that dopamine cycle going on in our brain. And it just perpetuates the overall picture of the pleasure pain cycle. Um, that we're in, and we run away from pain and towards pleasure and away from pain and towards pleasure, and then that's what ultimately makes us feel like we don't have any control over our lives. It makes us feel like we're on a big roller coaster ride, and that and that's not a fun way to live, right? I think we all know that feeling well. So anyways, I got a little tangential there, but um I think that's what happens in monologue situations that I'm still not quite used to. So anyways, I hope this was helpful, and I will not be using StreamYard anymore cuz clearly there. So now I'm going to try something else next, and if I'm still blurry, then we'll Oh, cool. It's too bad. I really like this platform, but anyways. All right, if you're just joining, catch the replay and let me know if you have any questions and any thoughts or anything else you would like me to jump on when I ultimately test this again using a different service. All right, bye guys.